Hi, and thanks for joining me today. I have another flip video on a Crafter's Companion box kit. This is number 18, and it's their character stamp and die kit. So I did do a little bit of prep in advance, and here I'm using their more rounded window. And if you caught my other video on the statement word edgeable box kit, that one had a window frame as well, a die to cut a window frame, but that was more square. And this is the more rounded one. And I don't know if these are exactly the same as the dies that they offer that go along or coordinate with the Peekaboo dies, but I'm glad that I have both of these box kits because they have those window frame dies included. And so hopefully when my Peekaboo stamp and die set or bundle comes in, they'll work just fine for those as well. Crossing my fingers for that so that I don't have to buy that separate set. But these characters are super duper fun. I stamped out, I think, two, maybe three of each character and just had a fun time coloring them in. I'm not a super great colorist, so I don't haven't invested in a lot of Copics or anything like that. I actually have the Ohuhu set of alcohol markers because that was a rather affordable option that still had the brush tip, which I definitely knew I wanted. Although now that Crafter's Companion has released their Tri-Blends brush markers, I feel kind of, uh, motivated to buy those. I'm trying to resist the urge to, but I kind of want them. But what's really cute about these stamps is that you get the full character, which is a little bit different from their Peekaboo characters, and you get the front of the character and the back of the character. And what's really super fun is that there is one die that cuts the character out, but it will cut out all of the characters. So you get a good variety. There's 4 different characters, and you'll see them all throughout the course of my cards here. This little piggy has got to be one of my favorites because he's just got a very sweet smile, and you can see that he's holding something behind his back, and it happens to be this little rose. And what I did was with the characters that they all hold something, but if they had like little accessories or whatnot, I didn't color them in advance, so that what I could do is then color them in to match my card, if that made sense. Here I'm using a lot of pinks, so I didn't want to make the flower, the little rose that he's holding, pink as well, because then it would sort of be drowned out by his body. But super cute, and for a flat card, I think it's really fun to just have that little bit of acetate window that peeks through to the inside. This is my first layered card, and I do have a couple different layered cards just because this kit lends itself really well to creating layered cards. You get the solid color cardstock in 8x8 sheets, as well as pattern paper, also in 8x8 sheets. And what's really cute about this kit is not only do you get the fun little characters, but you also get these word edgeable dies. So it's a really fantastic bargain because you get 2 different words. You get with love and thank you. And surprisingly, I actually didn't use thank you all that much in, or maybe not even at all in my cards, mostly because both the pattern paper and the little critters are more of sort of a youthful theme. And so with 9 nieces and nephews, I figured these would make really fun birthday cards for them. And so, thank you doesn't really, work quite as as well in terms of my needs for cards, and I don't sell my cards, so I'm basically creating cards for personal use and to give away as, gift sets and things as well. This card I think is going to go to my nephew who will be turning 2 this year. So I think it's a fun little card, and it's probably the only card that I made that doesn't have any pink or purple. So it's just a simple Z-fold card with this extra little panel here, and I'm not using the character to its fullest extent because I didn't include the back of the squirrel, but I do think having that option of the back and just kind of some little surprise, because usually, you only see whatever critters or animals that you add to your card just from the front. And so that having the stamp that stamps out the back of them is super cute. But you don't always have to create cards like that. You can just create some standard cards too. This little card is very similar in structure to the previous one, and it will probably go to my niece, big sister to my nephew who will get that previous card. So now they'll both kind of have cards in similar styles. So here I'm using the little puppy dog, and she loves playing with my puppy when she comes over to visit, so that's why I thought she would enjoy this. And so you can see here the puppy is holding a little envelope, and I didn't color that envelope in until I'd matched up that character with this card, and I think the purple works well with all the different pattern papers and is a nice little accent color. And pink would have worked too, but I chose to sort of use purple as my highlight color since there's already so much pink on the card with the panel and the matte layer on the inside panel. These Z-fold cards are really a lot of fun, and sometimes they are... I don't think that was the case with this particular kit, but sometimes in the kits they actually come pre-folded to make things like easel cards and more fun fold style cards. That way you kind of know how to do it, how to fold it, and then if you want it, you can save one of those card bases to use as a template for future cards in that same style. But I think in this case I just folded it myself. But their card bases are a pretty good thickness, so I do like that about it. So in this example, you might not notice, but the piggy is actually holding the rose in front of his body, and I didn't record myself doing that because I was doing a lot of the prep work and didn't record any of my prep work, but I did take some still photos as I was masking and stamping this out. So if you want to go ahead and check out my blog post, which I'll leave a link to in the description box below, that's where you'll see more instructions for how to mask and stamp out this piggy so that he's actually holding the flower in front of him. And his facial expression works so perfectly whether he's holding the flower in front of him or behind his back, because it when it's in front of him, it sort of seems like he's just like kind of savoring the smell of the rose, stopping to smell the roses. And when it's behind him, it almost looks like he's got sort of a sheepish grin, like he knows a secret that you don't know because he's hiding the flower from you. So I just thought that's why I love working with the little piggy stamp, because it's just really fun to use, and you get that variety. So here's another, what I would still consider a layered card. It's a double Z fold, and I've got a couple of mats and layers, and it's really easy to create these Z folds. All you do is you cut your regular card base, and then you fold the front basically in half, and there you have a Z fold. For the double Z fold, you would cut the same width, but you don't need as tall of a card. So however large you want that band to be, you would make the same width lengthwise measurement and then just cut it as tall as you want it. And then you would just reverse where the fold is. So pretty easy to do these Z folds, and they always make for a pretty fun card. I wouldn't necessarily consider these interactive cards. This one might come close to being an interactive card, but I still really consider it a layered card. Mostly because once you open it up, I think you would just kind of maybe set it on display and leave it like that rather than really playing with it and kind of playing with the interaction over and over again. Though this one, as I mentioned, might be a little bit of an exception to that. At least I found myself playing with this card a lot. It might actually be my favorite. Partially because I love dogs. I used to have a cat, and my cat was an orange tabby, kind of like how I colored this one. My cat, Rocky, had a little bit more white than what I put onto this kitty cat that I'm using here, but pretty close. And what I'm doing here is adding that bit of color like I mentioned. So now that I know this card has some purple and some pinks, I'm gonna color in the collar in some purple just to match the highlight accent color of the card, and then the little heart, I'll color that in with some pinks. And the way that I do my alcohol marker coloring is I actually put down the middle color first, where the shadow layer would normally be. I know a lot of people often put the lightest color, but the lightest color tends to have more of kind of the blending alcohol solution, which bleaches up color. And so I figure why not start with a shade that's a little bit closer to the dark, because a lot of times if you start with the lightest, you'll still have to go back in with your darkest after everything's all done, just to darken those bits up even more. So that's why I start with the mid-tone. And so I have it set so that initially when the card is closed, you only see the one character, but then when you open it, you realize, oh, there's two. And if you look really closely from behind, you'll see that, they are a full image because I've used the back sides of the critters as well. Super fun stamp and die set with this kit. And having these word edgeable dies is really fun too, because those make for really great focal images too. So I'm adding a little bit of the ribbon that's included in the card kit, and I think that you get probably I would say enough to make 2 cards if you wrap it around this way, because I actually cut exactly half of this length of ribbon to use. One thing to keep in mind with the ribbon that they've included is that it is a really pretty satin ribbon, but it's not double-sided, so you may want to make note of which side is the pretty side when you go to add it to your card. And so here I am kind of using it sort of like a peekaboo, but not really. My first card, the flat card, I used it a lot like how you would use one of their peekaboo dies. But I am going to have him peek out of the corner here, and I'm just making sure that when I line up the back of the backside of the piggy, that the backside will fit 100% on the card. So I've nudged him around until he fits, and then this is going to be a shaker card, so I'm going to add my acetate behind this window here, and I have started to use the Tombow dotted tape runner, which is really nice for things that have a more intricate die cut design. Like I just ran it across the "With Love" letters, and I'm finding that that's a lot easier and faster than using liquid glue and dotting it all around. With something like this, the letters are big enough that liquid glue wouldn't have been too um, troublesome to cover, but I like having the Tombow dotted tape runner now that I have started to use that. I definitely appreciate how much faster it is. So definitely for more intricate die cuts, I'll be using that more and more. So at this point now, I've got the permanent Tombow tape runner, the dotted, and the removable tape runner. And I use them all kind of at some point or another in my crafting. So it's may seem a little excessive to have so many different types of glue, but they all do serve a purpose, so they're all pretty useful. So for this, I am doubling up on my foam because I have some shaker bits that are actually just from the Dollar Tree. So I've got some sequins, and I don't know if everybody does this, but I just add some powder cornstarch to the inside of that foam window just so that it just takes off a little bit of the stick. But I did that before I peeled up the backs of those foam adhesive strips. So as I was saying, these shaker bits are just from the Dollar Tree. So they sell these sequin packs in different colorways, and they sell those seed bead jewelry beads in a variety of colorways too. And it just so happened that I had the perfect shades of purple and green to match my cards. And I love adding the seed beads and jewelry beads to a shaker window because they make that very satisfying sound as you shake it around. So it's always so hard for me to tell how much is enough fill to put in. And I think I would have preferred a little bit more than what I have included here. But I always, every other time, seem to put too much. And so I was trying to be cognizant of that. And now I feel like I've put too little. But I think because the window frame is so large, it could have, I didn't really factor that in enough. But it's still really pretty. And I did color in the little rose that the piggy is holding in a more violet purple this time, just to match the rest of the card. Which, I think it's those little details that just really make everything feel complete. And I love that little bit of surprise that you get when you open the card and you see not just the backside, but you see that the little piggy's, holding a little rose for you. It's so cute. I didn't have that many shades of pink, so that's why all my piggies are this very like dark shade of pink. If I had lighter, more pale shades of pink, I think I would have tried to make a more pale pig, but I guess he works out okay. This is my next interactive card, and it's going to be an X card. So all I did here was I took some A2 size panels and I cut mats for each of them. So the panel itself is cut to 4 1/4 by 5 1/2. The mats are cut at 4 by 5 1/4. And I just temporarily adhered them with some low tack tape, a little bit of washi tape, and I ran it through my die cutting machine to cut out this oval. And as I did each one, I lined it up with the next set of panels, so that more or less they're all going to be exactly in the same spot, because all of these panels are going to get glued together. In total, there's going to be 4. So with this panel here, what I did was attach some invisible thread, and I did wrap it around the top and bottom. So that is wrapped around the cardstock itself. And I used some score tape to adhere it down, but I did put dabs of liquid glue when I put the matte layer on. And so that makes it, super secure. And once you have your 4 panels matted, then you're just going to fold them and start attaching them to each other. So here I'm folding them. All are folded so that the pretty side is kind of on the inside, and then you just glue each panel to the next. So once you get to the last panel, then that goes to the very first panel that you started and the last panel that you ended with. So in the end, you'll get this, when you look from the top down view, it'll be a nice X, and the character is going to be suspended in the center. So it folds down flat, but then when you open and pick it up, it will twist, and you can kind of stand it up and display it from any angle, and each angle is going to have a different piece of paper on it. This will be my last card for the video, and it's it'll be my pop-up card, and it's going to be sort of a pop-up spinner card. And this was one of their 5x7 card bases that's included in the box kit, which I don't often do 5x7 cards, and I was realizing that it's a lot of space to decorate, and I'm more accustomed to the A2 US size cards, which is 4 1/4 by 5.5, and the 5x7 is just so big. It just sometimes I do 5x7, but more out of necessity. Like a lot of times my wiper cards are 5x7 because you kind of need that extra real estate to have a nice compelling wiper mechanism. Or sometimes I'll have dies that cut really pretty frames or borders or things like that, and they really only work for larger size cards. But I came up with this, which I've seen in a lot of different Pinterest video or Pinterest photos of different cards, and lots of card layouts that have these layered banners at the bottom. And so I just took a variety of the scrap pieces that I had left over from the previous cards and cut them into various widths and just added the little fishtail banner ends to them. And it's a really fun way to just use up scraps too. So I did also, I don't know if I caught this on video, but I did, because everything was looking just a little bit flat, I went across all of my banners with my homemade shimmer pen. And so you could use like a Wink of Stella, or I think Spectrum Noir has a pen. But I've got a good DIY one that works really well for me, so I probably won't really need to buy any more Wink of Stella once my current pen runs out, because it actually is a fairly good comparison to the Wink of Stella. And because I have the other mediums the media that I use, and plenty of it left, I'll probably just make more as I run out. But all it is just, I think, iridescent media gel and water. So that's pretty much it, and it works really well. I've seen other recipes that include glitter, and seen some recipes with mica and stuff, and I've tried with my mica and it doesn't really look the same. It looks okay, you get a nice glitter, but it's not quite as iridescent and clear as using an iridescent medium. Okay, so this is the inside portion of my card, and so it's basically cut to the same size as a 5x7, except that there's a fold, in the center that gets popped out. So here, I just need a couple of decorative panels on the inside of the card, and I'm trying to make sure that I add everything on the outside of the card while it's still flat and it doesn't have the mechanism in it. And then I'll attach the mechanism, because with this particular mechanism, it's creates a pretty uneven surface because of the way that pop-up folds in on itself. It adds more thickness to the outside of the card. So it's always good to kind of, with my pop-up cards, if I can remember, I always try to decorate the front of the card first, especially if I'm working directly on the card base. If I'm just adding a panel, maybe it's not so bad, but I try to get the front all sorted out before moving to the inside. Although when I design the card itself, I always think from the inside and then I work out. So with this kitty cat, I colored her in gray, and to have her match with what's going on, her collar happens to also be purple, because there's a lot of purple and pinks in this kit. There's sort of that kind of minty green as well, but for whatever reason, purple just strikes me better, so I chose that as the accent color for the little kitty. So you can see when you open it, she spins around. So these are the flatback pearls that come in the kit, and I found that the purple and the pink work really well with the papers, but the blue, green, turquoisey ones, they're a little bit more blue than they are green, and the cards and pattern paper is more green. So I didn't end up using it on any of my cards. And also, I found that the largest pearl is just so big, and it's really thick too. So I'm a little bit worried about those going through the mail, so I typically don't use those large flatback pearls either. So here's a recap of all of my cards. Here's my flat card. And I didn't mention, with those hearts at the bottom, that heart stamp did come in the stamp set. And basically I stamped it with some Distress ink, but I also spritz out a little bit of my shimmer mist and stamped with my shimmer mist too, and that's what's giving it that sort of silver metallic-y look on some of those edges of the heart. This is the first of a couple of layered cards, so it's just a Z card with that extra little panel in front. And that's the squirrel. This card is a layered card, but you could possibly, well, I guess it would be hard to make that completely flat, but I did pop the piggy up in foam, and if you want to see how to stamp that piggy with the flower held in front as opposed to behind his back, check out my blog post. This is another Z-fold, this time featuring the puppy. And then my next double Z-fold includes double the characters, because once you open it up, then you see there's also a kitty cat that's holding a heart for you. And in this case, I did use the backs of the animals too, so if anybody looks really closely, they'll see kind of the full character, which I think is super fun. My first interactive card is this shaker, which is completely see-through to the inside of the card, and that way when you and I didn't add any beads or anything to some of these cards that already have a lot of thickness, but when you open this card, then you see the back of the piggy who's holding a little rose for you. the shaker bits don't come in the box kit, so that did come out of my stash, but they're really inexpensive bits from the Dollar Tree. So that's a really great place to just pick up some sequins and seed beads and things like that. And my next interactive card is a little X-fold card. So it's a little spinner with the piggy anime or spinning on the inside of the card, and it stands up really nicely, so you can just kind of spin them around, and you can have them on display in, on whichever side or angle of the X-fold as you like. So I've got some solid color cardstock and some pattern paper. You can see I used the piggy a lot. He's featured quite a bit in my cards. So this last one is my pop-up card, and it is it also features their word edgeable with love, and is a pop-up spinner card with the little kitty. So really cute. This also stands up really well, and these characters are so easy to color because they're nice and big areas, but also they're just so fun because all of their expressions are super duper cute. So I really can't wait until my Peekaboo bundle comes in, because I'm looking forward to coloring and working with those as well. Thanks so much for joining me. I'll leave links to everything in the description box below, so check out my blog post for more information on anything that I might have missed out here. Have a fantastic day and happy crafting. Bye!